Rookies this year have been tearing up the league, making it look easy while squabbling on veterans in the process. Some are breaking multiple records like it's no problem at all. If only it was that easy to get a girlfriend, right? But for most rookies, the NFL proves to be a hard puzzle to solve. The players are bigger, faster, and stronger than they were in college, so the same success is hard to come by. But then, every year, there are a handful of rookies that just get it. They come in like a house on fire and instantly make their mark. 2023 has been no different. Some of these guys we saw coming, either based on their college career, their combine numbers, their draft position, or common sense. You just knew they were going to be a star right away. Hey pal, we told you Bijan Robinson was going to break out. It's not our fault you didn't pick him for your fantasy team when you had the chance. And then there are other guys that made you scratch your head. Who? From where? He did what? Let's take a look at some of the top rookie performers from this past season who tore it up and put the league on notice. Okay, you should have seen CJ Stroud coming. As blue chip prospects go, he couldn't get much bluer. Big time college star at The Ohio State, where he set a bunch of school records, Heisman Trophy finalist 2 years in a row, and the number 2 pick in the draft. This guy's path to success was paved with gold. The only way he could muck it up was if his name was Bryce Young. The fact is that Stroud delivered. In 2023, playing for the Houston Texans, he threw for over 4,100 yards, threw 23 touchdowns against only 5 interceptions, achieved a passer rating of over 100, and even set a record for most passing yards in a single game by a rookie. And most importantly, because true success is measured by wins and losses, he led the Texans to the playoffs. So what makes Stroud so good? While he's not necessarily mobile, he is agile. He can move in the pocket easily. At 6'3", 220 pounds, he's got the size and strength to sling the ball half the length of the field with what looks like the snap of a finger. Boom! 50-yard post. Boom! 30 yards out. Boom! 25-yard seam route. On top of that, he's accurate, dropping dimes in a bucket and splitting uniform numbers like an archer. And Stroud has his own style, from his dreadlocks to his squabble dance after he scores. No doubt about it, 2023 is just the beginning for this kid. While CJ Stroud is the straw that stirs the Houston Texans' drink, Tank Dell is one of the ice cubes. And most unbelievably, Houston got them both in the same draft. But at least they didn't have to go far to find Dell. He went to the University of Houston, where he led the nation in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns as a senior. But despite that success, he fell to the 3rd round, where the Texans drafted him to pair with Stroud, like Tom and Jerry or Mario and Luigi. And Dell was well on his way to establishing himself as a force in the NFL. Through 11 games, he had already racked up over 700 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. His connection with Stroud was obvious as the quarterback looked for him multiple times every single game. And then came that sound that only dogs and mice can hear. The high-pitched sound of a bone breaking inside a leg. Yikes. In a game against the Broncos, while blocking on a touchdown run, Dell got rolled on and broke his fibula. For one play, he was less Tank and more Dodge Omni. His season was ended, and his rookie dominance was over. But Dell and the Texans' future is bright. He and the team have a quarterback in place that is sure to keep Dell among the league's elite and allow him to pick up where his 2023 unfortunately left off. Bijan Robinson's NFL success should surprise no one. The Atlanta Falcons made him the first running back chosen in the draft and praised him as the best running back prospect in years. Say what? Said Saquon. Okay, best running back prospect since you, big guy. Calm down. But it's no wonder Bijan got such high praise. At the University of Texas, he racked up almost 1,600 yards rushing his senior season, leading the Big 12. He was also a touchdown machine, cranking out a total of 20 in 12 games. Touchdown Terminator. Bijan was a can't-miss prospect and was a favorite among fantasy league managers. And then he missed. Well, through no fault of his own. Robinson's fatal flaw in 2023 was that he played for the Atlanta Falcons, a team still reeling from blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. Okay, maybe they're over it, but I'm not. Anyway, the Falcons committed themselves to the running game, which is great, and Bijan reaped the rewards early, rushing for over 100 yards in 2 of the first 4 games. But committing to the run meant sharing the wealth, and the Falcons also leaned on veteran running backs like Tyler Algier, drastically cutting into Bijan's workload and inevitable domination of the league. But hey, there's always next year. The Falcons are sure to be better, right? The Brady curse can't last that much longer, can it? Bijan is still the main force of the Falcon backfield, timeshares be damned. Don't forget about Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, right? I mean, talk about coming out of nowhere. Well, Puka didn't exactly come out of nowhere. He came out of BYU, which isn't exactly nowhere, unless you're trying to get a drink on a Saturday night. But Nacua's college stats didn't exactly jump out at you. In fact, he scored as many touchdowns running the ball his senior season as he did catching it. So why would the Rams make him a 5th-round selection in the draft? And then why would they make him such a featured part of their offense? These questions, along with Stonehenge, the Loch Ness Monster, and life on other planets, will remain mysteries of the universe for a long time. But the fact is that Nacua tore it up as a rookie receiver like no other rookie receiver ever. 105 receptions, rookie record. 1,486 receiving yards, rookie record. And let's talk about his most important stat, 193.5 fantasy points in standard league play. And he gets extra points for the hair. It's hard to imagine that Puka will have as much success next year. For one thing, now that he's known, teams will scheme for him a lot more. And if Cooper Kupp stays healthy, the Rams receiver room will always be crowded. But several other teams make dynamic receiver duos work. No reason to think the Rams can't. And speaking of creating a dynamic duo at wide receiver, the Minnesota Vikings drafted Jordan Addison in the 1st round as a complement to the otherworldly receiver they already had, Justin Jefferson. Why would they do that? Well, making opposing defenses soil themselves was one motivating factor. And seeing a guy make catches like this and this was another thing that made them realize they couldn't pass him up. And the Vikings have a history of drafting pretty good receivers. Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, and a fella by the name of Randy Moss. Ever heard of him? And just like those guys, Addison delivered, especially when Jefferson went down with an injury. He became the #1 go-to receiver for the high-flying Vikes, being targeted as much as 10 times a game. For the season, Addison finished with just under 1,000 yards, and he scored 10 touchdowns. And with sub 4.5 speed 40, Addison gave the Vikings the deep threat to spread opposing defenses like Laffy Taffy. So what does next year look like? Well, with a healthy Justin Jefferson and a healthy Kirk Cousins will only make Addison and the Vikings fly even higher, and it'll mean opposing defenses will need a lot more moist towelettes. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't enter the league with as much fanfare as Bijan Robinson, but he was not far behind. 4 picks behind, to be exact. He was the 2nd running back selected, number 12 overall in the 1st round. He finished his stellar college career at Alabama, rushing for nearly 1,000 yards and scoring 10 touchdowns. Although he served in a running back committee with David Montgomery, his dynamic running style was unmistakable. Gibbs runs like people blink. It's effortless, like a twitch. His 4.36 speed means he gets by you and downfield before you have time to react. Even though he's only 5'9", he is hard to tackle. And only started 3 games, he still racked up over 1,260 yards from scrimmage and scored 11 touchdowns. It remains to be seen if Gibbs' running style and size are conducive to carrying a full load as a running back in the NFL. If it is, it spells trouble for defenses who are already strained to stop Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Sam LaPorta. But even if it isn't, the Lions are likely to continue using Gibbs in key situations and with great success. And while we're on the Lions, let's talk about Sam LaPorta. I mean, why not talk about a guy who is redefining the tight end position and making everyone forget about a certain power couple in Kansas City? Those two, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and those other two, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Detroit has its own power couple. LaPorta came out of the University of Iowa, which has produced power tight ends like George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, and Dallas Clark. When the Lions knew they had a need for a tight end because they traded Hawkinson away, they knew where to look. Hawkeye Nation. So they drafted him in the second round as the second tight end taken. All he was able to do this past season was set the NFL rookie tight end record for receptions with 86, score 10 touchdowns, and get selected to the Pro Bowl. He gives the Lions yet another receiving threat, someone who can make the tough catches to get the tough yards and the critical first downs, or bust defenses with seam routes and his red zone threat. Good luck, Lions opponents. You are gonna need it, because as LaPorta bowls with Jared Goff, still a relatively young quarterback, and serves as an option to Amon-Ra St. Brown, still a young receiver, and Jameson Williams going into his third year, and Jahmyr Gibbs, fellow second-year player, the Lions are going to be an offensive force for a long time. Okay, time to finally touch on some defense. And there were some great rookie defenders to talk about this year, but the front runner for Defensive Rookie of the Year is Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles. To be clear, Carter was a no-brainer out of college. Big and thick, Carter ate up space in the interior like an oversized sectional sofa. His presence on the University of Georgia defensive line helped them win 2 national championships in a row. Although he's listed at 6'3", 310, he plays like a man twice that size. Okay, maybe not twice that size, but at least 8'7". Carter was drafted by the Eagles in the first round, and for good reason, because he threatened to eat them if they didn't. Okay, mainly it was because he takes up space, takes on blockers, and makes tackles. But Carter isn't just a one-dimensional, middle-of-the-line defensive tackle. He's got get-off and get-up skills. He actually had 6 sacks this year, 8 tackles for loss, and 9 total quarterback hits. And he also brings a lot of intangibles. He redirects traffic away from the middle of the line, which is where he hunts. The Eagles are a force in the NFL, and they generally rotate around their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. But their defense is a key to their success. And with a rookie like Jalen Carter, that success is going to continue for a long time. Whether you're an official strategizer for an NFL team or you're a fantasy football manager, consider this fair warning. Rookies play a vital role in the NFL and on their teams. Don't sleep on them and don't discount them. Prepare for them. This current crop of rookies is likely to get better, and next year there are going to be more. They're fast, they're hungry, they're tough, they have a point to prove, and they're coming to punish and dominate.